Hi, this is Dave Steinberg. I'm an attorney in the state of Maryland, and one of the areas that I cover is personal injury. Today, we're going to discuss whether you have a good case. If you've been injured in an accident, you might be wondering whether you have a strong case. The answer is, it depends. I'm going to talk to you about factors we consider to determine whether or not you have a strong potential personal injury case. First, liability. Liability is basically fault. Proving liability that the other person caused the accident and not you is the first and biggest hurdle in your case. This is especially true in smaller personal injury cases. Insurance companies have no fear whatsoever about rejecting claims in small cases in which there are serious questions as to liability. To put it another way, if the defendant's fault or responsibility is unclear, then so is your chance of achieving a favorable outcome in your case. Second, damages. Liability can be clear, but if there are no damages, then you have no case. Damages are the harm that was done to you in the accident, including your past and future medical bills, as well as your pain and suffering and out-of-pocket loss. Even in the earliest stages of your case, you probably have some idea as to how severe your injuries are. Cases involving broken bones, which show on x-rays, are relatively easy, but soft tissue cases, such as neck and back strains, are more difficult because they don't easily show on x-rays or MRIs. Third, ability to pay. Does the potential defendant have the ability to pay? If not, you and your attorney may invest a good deal of time, money, effort, and emotional energy in the case, but never see a penny in return. Either some type of insurance must cover the incident, or the defendant must have personal assets like property that could be sold to pay the judgment. 4. Will the jury like you? Will juries empathize with your situation? On the other hand, what kind of person is the defendant? Will the jury like the defendant? There are some bad defendants, the drunk driver, the tire squealer, or the bully. If you have an unlikable defendant, your settlement range goes up. But even more importantly, if the jury doesn't like you or doesn't believe you, your settlement range goes down. 5. Witnesses. Your case is only as good as your evidence, and usually your evidence is only as good as your witnesses. If, for example, your only witness to support liability is a relative or friend, your case is weaker than if you had several impartial witnesses. Your doctor might be a witness to the medical part of your case. If the doctor involved has never testified, doesn't want to testify, or cannot testify well, this lowers your case's settlement value. 6. How tight-fisted is the defendant's insurance company? As lawyers, we are familiar with which companies are the most tight-fisted and will make ridiculous lowball offers on cases, so we might need to file suit. However, if the carrier is fair, and some of them are, we may get a higher settlement offer. 7. How much time has passed since the incident that caused your injuries? As a general rule, the longer it takes a case to get to a jury, the less sympathetic the jurors will be. This is particularly true if you experience pain or other symptoms for a limited time after the accident, but you have fully recovered by the time of the trial. 8. How much damage was there to the cars involved? In many automobile cases, the actual damage to the automobile may be minimal, as car bumpers are made to absorb more impact now than they could years ago. If there was only a bumper scratch or minor fender damage, the jury will question the extent of the impact and, therefore, the extent of your injuries. On the other hand, if the car in which you were injured looks like an accordion, it will be easier to convince a jury that you sustained serious injuries. To recap, The primary factors determining case strength are: how clear is the defendant's liability? How large and consistent with your injuries are your medical records? Will insurance or defendant's assets fully cover your loss? Will a jury like you and your actions and dislike the defendant and his actions? Do persuasive and unbiased witnesses support your claim? Does the insurer have fair settlement practices? Will you be fully recovered by the time of the trial? And in auto accident cases, how extensively and visibly was your car damaged? We are available to discuss your situation. You may contact me at 301-589-4597.